Join us. We just do our race, and then we go party in the lodge. Matitude's going to spin. There's a link, though, if you want to get all-night tubing tickets there, too. Well, I'll put you on my team. Coxsicles, come join us, won't you? It's a lot of fun. Caller 10, you're in. 216-578-1007. Or 800-348-1007.
Some people say our country is more divided than ever. But don't ask him. He sucks at math. Alan Cox on 100.7 WMMS.
I don't know how old the clip is. It's probably not brand new, but it got suggested to me, or it came up as I was looking at something else on YouTube, and it was a clip of Jack White, who is a massive, massive Beatles fan. And they were quizzing him. He said that he could identify a Beatles song with like 2 seconds of music or 1 second of music, and it was really impressive. Holy cow. He didn't miss a beat. If you listen to us on iHeartRadio from out of state, thank you, first off, because it's not always easy. But make sure that I know where you are, too. Alex listens in Dallas. Jim is one of our bureau chiefs in Colorado Springs. Andrea is in Louisville, Kentucky. Becky's in Austin, Texas. Scott's way up in Alpena, Michigan. And Carissa is, I believe, our single bureau chief in Conway, South Carolina. It's not a big town. It's about 23,000 people in Conway. It's about 20 minutes outside Myrtle Beach. But they're in the news because the town is trying to get a couple out of town. This guy and his girlfriend, or I don't know if it's his wife. They're a couple, a guy named Warren Butler and a girl named Alexis Hartnett. It's always funny, these people who consider themselves the master race, their eyeballs are like above their ears. But and the town has kind of had enough because these people have black neighbors, black veteran neighbors. And they've been burning crosses in the yard between their houses. And it's really getting to the point where, like, the neighbors are like, what are we supposed to do? Like, we got to live here and deal with this? And so a variety of authorities there in Conway, South Carolina, are trying to find a way to get this couple kicked out of their house or moved somewhere else or something, since they've been burning crosses near their black neighbors' homes and yelling racial slurs.
So lumber's so expensive right now.
Well, I don't know how big they are. But I don't think lumber is expensive anymore, is it? It was for a while, but the price of everything came down.
Well, I don't think it came down to
It's
where
not cheap. Where you can be
want
burning
to
crosses.
be burning it every week.
I mean, these could be popsicle sticks for all I know, but I don't know if it's Gene Hackman and Willem Dafoe are running around there. But local authorities are asking the courts there in South Carolina to declare the home a public nuisance and remove them, saying that they've harassed, assaulted, and threatened their neighbors in the public areas near the home. Now, these are black veterans that moved in next door. And again, you don't know who you're moving next door to. And so much for supporting the troops. But they said that the neighbors were enjoying a holiday weekend with their family. And these two lit a cross on fire in their yard. They had just moved to the area recently. Monica and Sean Williams are black Army veterans. And they were like, we've never dealt with anything like this before. And the people were initially arrested, but it was a misdemeanor. And so they got it released. And so this couple's like, what are we supposed to do? Like, this guy's saying he's going to cause us bodily harm and burn crosses, and what, we're supposed to sleep with one eye open? Or South Carolina is one of only 2 states in the entire U.S. with no hate crime laws. So they don't get them on that. But these 2 people are causing the neighbors and this town no small amount of problems. But like I said, they look like real Emmy Award winners, these two anyway. So they're living their best life and just trying to share some of the love there with their neighbors. But Conway, South Carolina, jumped at me because I know that that's where Carissa is. And I think she's our single bureau chief down there. Got a Poundcake sports break later on in the show today. And it's almost like it's like that movie Memento where Guy Pearce keeps forgetting things. I like Wednesdays because I'll remember in the morning that there's a Poundcake sports break, and then I'll go about my day and I'll start doing some work and I'll forget. And I'll go, oh, as I'm laying the show out, I'll go, ooh, Poundcake sports break. And then I get excited again. And then I'll forget because I'll move on to something else. And then midway through the show, as I'm looking further down my rundown, I'll go, ooh, Poundcake sports break. And now I'm excited again.
I'm glad you get excited. That's good.
Now, in 5 minutes, I will have forgotten. And, but again, each time I remember, it's a brand new whiff of excitement. But I think I'll probably remember from here on out.
I hope.
Yeah. Are you excited to do the sports break?
I am.
I mean, I always assume you are because you put a lot of love and care into it. But I didn't know if, you actually were.
Yes, I do. I love delivering my sports knowledge in my own little creative Poundcake way.
I understand. Well, that's why people voted you Pittsburgh, Cleveland's best sports talker. What city are we in? Cleveland's best sports talker over there at
Wouldn't
Cleveland
that be something?
Scene.
I'm so good. I'm the best sports
Multiple
talker
cities.
in a city I've never even visited.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's the real hurdle to jump over, is to be voted in a city. I mean, there are probably no small number of people reading Cleveland Scene who are like, who the hell is Cody Brown? Imagine if you were on in a city that, I mean, we've got a lot of people who listen to the show in Pittsburgh, right? Those people I consider kind of grandfathered in to this show since I was there for so long. So those people know who you are. So it's conceivable that I don't know what the Free Weekly is in Pittsburgh anymore. It used to be in Pittsburgh was what it was called. Like the version of Cleveland Scene. Maybe that's the next step in the Poundcake empire, is getting him voted best sports talker in a completely different city.
That's dope.
That would be a Sisyphean task of untold proportions. Yes.
A who?
Dope. That would be dope to get you. Let me make some calls. See what I can find.
A Josephine task? What is that?
Yes. Josephine Task. I dated her second half of college, and her parents didn't want her with a white boy. And I said, well, a Sisyphean task. Have you ever heard that term?
Sisyphean? No, I don't think
This was on Jeopardy the other night, and I knew it. Are you? How much Greek mythology do you have in your brain?
I just know that they had like male concubines. That's all I remember.
What you remember is the male concubines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I remember.
Okay.
It appealed to him.
All right. Well, the myth of Sisyphus in Greek mythology was he was a deceiver, and he was killing people, and the gods had basically sentenced him to spend eternity pushing a giant rock up a hill.
Oh, God.
And then it would roll down, and he would have to push it back up. And so a Sisyphean task is usually just kind of shorthand for something that's really, really hard to do. You're always pushing a rock uphill.
Wow, okay. No, I don't remember that.
I like that phrase. It's very musical to me. But that's what it would be to get you voted best sports talker in an entirely different city.
Got it. Yeah, I'm sure we probably talked about that in Sisyphus in Humanities.
This is what I'm saying. That's why I wondered how much was in your brain.
But that class, again, that class was huge. It was like 500 people in that class. So, a lot of people were like playing on their phones and making card castles and stuff and card pyramids. So
In class?
In class.
What do you mean card pyramids?
Like, where they stack the cards up and it makes a...
Like a house of cards?
Yes.
In class.
Yep.
So somebody's or is this like a big auditorium class?
Yeah, it was a big lecture hall.
See, when I was in college, we didn't have those. The classes were like, I mean, a big class was like 30 people.
Really?
Yeah. So we didn't have those big auditorium. Well, I should say the classes I had were not in those big auditoriums. I thought you were talking about like a regular sized classroom. There's somebody in there making card houses while somebody's giving a lecture.
The classes that everyone had to take, like humanities, that was a prerequisite for every major. So you had to take humanities. So those classes were like 300 to 500 people.
Right. And so there were people in there because they had to take them. They were like, I don't care about this.
Pretty much. But as soon as she got into, and the wives, when the wives would marry, they would shave their heads to look more like men. I was like, oh, really? I was like, I was born in the wrong time.
So every once in a while, you'd perk up.
Yep, every so
You'd
often.
hear something that really resonated with you.
They said it was better for a man to sleep with another man than to take a unmarried woman's virginity, because then she's ruined for her husband. I was like, you know what? That is so right.
He's like, cosign.
That is so right.
Makes sense to me.
Leave these women alone. Don't you want another man that knows how to what you need? Another man knows what you need, how to make you feel good.
The professor's, I'm sorry, Mr. Brown, are you feeling ill? You're moaning a lot up there.
You're drooling all over the desk, sir. I'm going to need you to sit up, huh?
Do I need to get custodial services up to mop around your feet?
Yeah, and I looked around when like the professor said that, and no one was really paying attention. I was like, did y'all not hear that? They was gay back in the day, but it wasn't called gay. It was just, doing bro stuff. And
it was
male
Grease.
bonding.
It was Grease.
Soldier accompaniment. That's why I said if I was like alive during those times, that's exactly what my position would be.
Soldier
I'm
accompaniment.
like, y'all not about to put me on this boat floating over to Troy.
That's why you got to wonder about Soldier Boy.
Got that brown star. You get the Purple Heart, you get the Brown Star.
Yeah.
All the awards. Look at his awards from Army.
So it always was surprising to me when people would just kind of listen. I wasn't immune to zoning out in a class, but people who were like just not paying attention at all, because it's like you're paying for this, and you never know what an interesting bit of information, even if it's not a class that you necessarily care about or need. There's always something you can learn, always something you can file away that might be, useful big picture.
That was not me. Not paying attention.
I know a lot of people weren't that.
I was like, I would. Of course, there's times where I don't pay attention. I feel like that's everyone. But to actively not pay attention, like people were playing, what is that game on the computer? Where
Leisure Suit Larry.
No, with the bricks. What is it called? Minecraft.
Yeah.
They would be playing Minecraft, or they'd be like, building House of Cards. Or,
you mean Tetris, or they're actually playing Minecraft?
No, it was like Minecraft. Yeah. They would have their headphones in, like they wouldn't care. So I'm like, I'm sitting behind them.
And frankly, the prof doesn't care either, because he's like, hey, listen, if you're going to jerk off in this class, I don't care.
They would have like a teaching assistant usually. So I don't think I ever talked to that professor in that class. You usually communicated with a teaching assistant for those classes. But that's why my mom didn't want me to go to OSU, because she was like, you can't learn. I was like, oh, well, you didn't tell me what I would be learning. Yeah, I would learn a big humanities class with 1,000 people. I'm going to sit next to someone who I know I can learn with.
Alan, they are brainwashing kids on a much larger scale in college now, as opposed to when you were in college. Granted, I'm not in school now, but I never understand what people mean when they say this. When they talk, you hear it primarily from right-wingers, because they think that colleges are like extreme left. And granted, there's much more liberal thought on campus, because that's when you're supposed to kind of be open-minded. And it has gotten crazy radical sometimes, but there's always been parts of that in college. Always parts of that. You didn't think we had crazy left-wingers in college 30 years ago? Or right-wingers? I mean, I had a couple when I would take my con law classes, I had very conservative professors. Didn't bother me. Bothered some people. But to some degree, it's always been like that. The woke thing, that has, in a lot of places, gotten out of hand.
I'm so glad I got out of college before all this stuff started going down.
It's definitely like the terrain is different now, but when people talk about brainwashing, like, it's always, to some degree, you're trying to learn stuff.
I think, but what they're saying is, I understand what they're saying. It's not, like how there's a clip going around that we posted about, brainwashing, knowledge is a form of brainwashing. What I meant to say, the stuff that you learn, you only know the information that you read. So if you're given a certain amount of information, you can be educated on what you're taught, but that doesn't mean that you have everything in context.
Well, you're never going to know everything there is to know, but guess what? Campus libraries are massive buildings full of books and information, and you guys have the internet. We had to go to we had to get books and microfiche and all that crap. You guys could just tippity tap, there it is.
But that information could be skewed too. Like you think
all information can be skewed.
But that's what they mean when they say.
Well, no, you're proving my point.
Access to certain information.
But it's always been that way on campus. It was that way 30 years ago when I was going to college. It's that way now.
Sure.
You get out of it what you put into it. And yes, there's clips going around of, some girl putting on TikTok that her professor is like, Israel are murderers and Palestine. That's a whole other thing, right? And the concept of tenure really does liberate a lot of people who are in those tracks, those professors who were like, can't fire me, so they say whatever they want. But to some degree, there's always been that.
I mean, that's what
the difference
they talk
is
about
that
on House all the time.
The difference is that it's so exorbitant to go to college now.
I don't even remember.
That's what makes people angry. They're like, it costs so much. And if it hasn't advanced commensurate with what people are spending now. I mean, listen, when I went to college, it was not cheap. But college is really expensive now. And so, I mean, even like smaller, less prestigious schools, it costs a lot of money to go. So
yeah, it does.
I don't know. So my only point is, I take this person's point, but my only point is there's always been a part of that on campus where some people would, take something and fall in line, and other people were like, maybe not so much.
I don't remember what the big thing was when I was in school. I'm sure there was like some massive protest that going on campus or near campus. I don't remember.
We had protests all the time.
I never participated. I was there. Again, college is expensive. I knew how much money it cost there, so I was there to get my money's worth in food, a good time, and learn something. So I was not there to protest. Like there's probably people there trying to like, hey, do you want to come to this rally? Nope, I don't want to. What's that gonna do? No.
I mean, when I was in college, we were all peeing our pants because we thought we were going to get conscripted into the Gulf War. All the rumors go around. Anytime there's a war, and there always seems to be one, anytime there's a war, people in college, the rumors still going around that they're going to reinstate the draft, and it never does happen, but those always go around, and when I was in college, it was a Gulf War. So people were freaking out. But there's always some kind of protest. It seems more likely these days that maybe some of them will get shut down.
The protests that offered free pizza, I would go to those. Like, because sometimes they would, like, be protesting and then they'll toss like a pizza in a box like down the line. I was like, take my slice. I'll walk like to a certain point and then I'm like, ooh.
Hey, ho, pepperoni's got to go. Hey.
And then as soon as they would like go down a certain street, I would just take one big step out of line and then turn off. I'm like, oh yeah, I got class at like 3:15.
I got my
what
slice.
What do we want? Extra cheese. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Extra cheese. When do we want it? Now.
Yeah,
I was not an active student in that way. I didn't get into any campus protests. I wasn't on any committees. I was a radio nerd. I partied, and that was about it. I got full use of my gold meal plan. Like, every time, they're like, why do you always have Rob's? I'm like, because I got a gold plan. I got an unlimited plan, so I'm going to get my money's worth. So as soon as it opened, I was there.
So there was nothing when you were in college that struck you as
important enough to protest?
Right. It didn't resonate with you. There was no issue that resonated with you. As a black gay man, there was nothing that resonated with you to protest in college.
No, I didn't. It didn't sway me to go out and protest. I don't think there was always, they would always have the abortion people out there with their loudspeaker, like, oh, abortion is evil. And like they would show like the dead fetuses as you're like walking on campus. But again, it did not faze me at all. I was just walking dudes yelling at me like, oh, you sodomite. I'm like, yep. Like, I remember there was one friend of mine, he was bi, and he was like kissing his boyfriend in front of like the guys on the loudspeaker. And I was just like, oh, wow. This is a fun day. Like, so, but even then I didn't feel compelled to like yell back. Why? Like, they didn't. I'm not spending my money to go yell at some dude who thinks abortion's bad. Ain't got nothing to do with me. I ain't got no uterus, bruh. Ain't got nothing.
And you're not going to impregnate anyone either.
No.
I remember maybe my sophomore year, maybe beginning of my sophomore year, there was a huge protest at Tennessee State University, black students. And they were occupying campus buildings. They were locking themselves in. They were up on the roofs, whatever. And they were protesting conditions on campus. And back then, I don't recall, like now if you do that, like because all these local law enforcement agencies are so militarized, they're like, just send a tank in there or something. You know, they call out the National Guard when you got some kids in a building protesting. So, yeah, it is a different vibe, but there's always been an element of that.
Yeah, there's people that like to show out. Like, as soon as they see there's a protest, they're like, oh, there's cameras here. Let me act stupid. I'm like, I'm not going to act stupid. I'm not going to be in the background of somebody, reporting live from downtown, and then they, do the finger, effer right in the, like that was
effer in the P.
Yeah, that was popular when I was in school. I'm like, I'm not doing that. No, as a person of media, it's against everything I stand for to act like that when someone's trying to do their job. So no, I was not active in that way. I didn't even go to like the parades because I think WZIP used to like walk downtown for, I forget, a Christmas Day parade, and you would wear like you would be a gift, and I'm like, nope, not putting on a costume, not doing nothing. I'm gonna be in my dorm, not studying because it's my right. I paid for it.
Be us against them. Now it's us against us. Look, I've been here for 7 years, and I got to tell you guys, what's going on here is about America.
We're not gonna protest. Jeremy Piven
and everything.
in PCU.
Yeah.
We're not gonna protest.
What a fun movie.
Not gonna protest.
Not gonna protest.
What a great, great movie. All those young actors, I mean, obviously they're 20 years older now, but like all those young actors that went on to big, big things.
Alan, they're 30 years older now.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
God, 93.
Yeah.
Piven, who had his old hairline.
Yep.
Spade, looked like he was 12 years old.
Still does, kind of.
Jake Busey.
John
Favreau.
Favreau.
Yeah, he was Gutter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who else was in it? Who was?
I mean, Jessica Walter. She was
Yeah.
one. She's dead now. She was one of the administrators
she was like the
in
dean
it.
or something, right?
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna